Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. Yeah, I've got no rhythm. And today my question is, have you ever read a book and then changed something about your life as a result of it? I don't tend to read self-help books. I read some non-fiction and I read fiction. I think my life has been influenced in sort of hard to measure ways by both fiction and non-fiction. But this week I read a book, I finished the book, and at the end of the book I made a decision and changed something very small about the way I do things. And I want to talk to you about it. And this is not, one second, I want to be clear. This is not in any way evangelical suggestion that anyone has to do the same thing that I did. But the book I'm talking about is The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, which is a terrific book, not about my generation, about generation of kids born post 2005 with the invention of the smartphone. And Haidt writes about the great rewiring of children's brains and how the change from play-based childhood to screen-based childhood. I'm not sure if I've got, he describes these things. I don't know if I've got the correct terms that he uses, but that change combined with an increased sense of what I don't think this is his term, but something he calls safetyism, where parents were much more concerned with a child's safety. They couldn't let children out of their sight. Children who maybe 20, 30 years ago might have gone to the shops by themselves or gone to a playground with that had roundabout slides and swings, is what was in the playground I had growing up. And today, none of these things exist, and everything is rubberized, and the playground equipment is less scary, less potentially risky. So that the combination of this sort of change in society, where we removed a sense of danger from children, and then children born with smartphones, with screens, with and laptops, and it's not just about the mobile screen, but that sense of everything becoming screen based rather than play based, and the damage that is caused in creating generations of children, adolescents, and young adults who have grown up with a different set of experiences and skills. I finished this book, and the first thing I did, and when I say the first thing, because I think I'm on a journey. I'm not the target list. My brain was wired a long time ago. I didn't undergo this rewiring, but I am aware of how much time I'm spending on my phone. I have an iPhone, and I'm not happy about it. The way I measure it is number of books that I'm reading, and I read a lot of books. It's my one most pleasurable and delightful hobby that brings me delight, but my reading has gone down in the last couple of years now. At my peak I was reading maybe, and I worked up to this, but I was reading maybe 140, and then I had a couple of years of 120 books a year, and last year it was down significantly. This year also. Now I think I'm still reading way beyond what would be considered the average, but I'm aware that I am spending evenings looking at my phone at 10 o'clock in the evening and still looking at it at 1 o'clock in the morning, thinking, oh, I should really go to bed. So when I finished the book, I removed Instagram from my phone, and I didn't delete my Instagram account. I can still get in. I don't use Instagram that much, so this wasn't a big sacrifice. That's why I want to talk about it. This is not me telling people how to live their lives. This is me trying to regain some control of my life. The big thing that I want to do, and this may seem strange to me to be making a YouTube video about this, but I want to remove YouTube from my phone. I'm not there yet. I still have it on my laptop. So, but there's just a difference between sitting on the couch. We don't have a TV in this house. We haven't had one for years, since the kids were little. And they're all grown up and have left home now, but we just, now everyone's got computers and phones. Who needs a television? But there's a difference between sitting on the couch and just scrolling, and these reels that you have on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and I watch endless amounts of puppies licking babies, and people coming home after being away for a long time and surprising their parents, sobbing. I also watch a ridiculous amount of people belching after drinking too much Sprite. to the extent that recently my wife, who was asleep, came into another room to check everything was all right with me because I was laughing so hard. She thought I was sobbing, crying. Why she thinks I would be in another room quietly sobbing to myself while she was asleep, I don't know. That says something about our relationship, perhaps. But is everything right? Everything right? She came running in. She'd woken up to the sound of this, and I was laughing so hard at people belching. Just puerile. But, do I need this in my life? Maybe, if it brings you joy, but I'm feeling that I probably need it a little bit less. Anyway, so my first major move was to remove Instagram. So that's one of the places where I was getting reels from, even though I'm not really on Instagram. I only look when I used to get notifications that my kids had posted something. Now my wife will have to tell me, and I've got it on my laptop, of course. And next thing would Facebook. I've kind of stopped using. I was once a fairly heavy user of Facebook. I'm not anymore. And YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of channels that I subscribe to, a lot of people that I've met doing this. But there's also a lot of rubbish that I watch as well. So that would be my next goal, would be to take YouTube off my phone. I still have it on the laptop, so I can come in here, open up my laptop, go or take my laptop wherever I want. It's just a sort of different set of. There's the laziness that I fall into in just picking up my phone and watching, occasionally watching videos I've seen a million times before. So I've taken off Instagram. I took a whole load of casual games as well. Like, I'm often sort of just doing simple games and mind games. I've still got the New York Times puzzles, so I do the mini crossword every day, and I do the I do the spelling bee. I don't always get to genius, but I make a concerted effort to get to genius every day. And I do not always strands, but I do the connections. And Monday and Tuesday, I can usually do the main crossword. After that, I don't always, rarely manage to complete it. But taking off all the other sort of casual games and the Connect Threes and all these things, which, believe it or not, I waste a lot of time doing. And I'm trying to regain a little bit of my life back, because even though Haidt's book is about young people and how their lives are riddled with anxiety and this constant checking, and it's about status. My life is less like that, but I'm still finding myself flung down a path of ADHD, and just reading less, I think, is the best metric I have for why my phone is not healthy for me. So this is, it's a great read. Anyway, I think it's good. My wife, who's involved in education, I keep bombarding with things. You've got to stop the kids having phones in school. You can't have them there. You've got to go through the day and take the phones away. And they're starting to move towards that. And I think as part of this, some schools have piloted no phones during the day at all, not just in between lessons. No phones from 8 in the morning until they leave, which is how I grew up in school. We didn't have phones. I went away to camp. I didn't speak to my mum for 2 weeks. That's how life was back in the day, and it's not now. And the assertion here, backed up with some science, is that that's not necessarily a good thing. I think the anxious generation is a sort of, it's, first of all, it's accessible. It's not prescriptive. It's very accessible. More so than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a little a little sort of tell us what we're all doing wrong. In fact, it's just pointing out some of the sad outcomes of the last 20 years. And at least in my life, I've taken that to say, well, maybe I can change a little bit about how I do things, get back to reading a bit more. But I think if you have kids, if you're parenting, my kids are now in their late 20s and even early 30s, I've already screwed up their lives completely. No more damage can I do than I've already done. But if you are interested in parenting, which I still am, and if you are a parent of young children, I think this is kind of urgent. Again, I'm not an evangelist for any particular, not religion, not any social behavior, nothing. The one thing I've bit of wisdom that I've gathered over the years is, what the hell do I know? But I think this is would be an interesting read for anyone who thinks and cares about parenting, whether in general or whether specifically in relation to their own kids. Especially people with kids 7, 8, 9, 10, on that cusp of that, When do we get our kid a smartphone? And well, they're going to school and everyone else seems to have one. This is kind of a sort of powerful read and maybe an antidote to that seeming need, because the suggestion here, and it's pretty well backed up, is that it ain't so healthy. The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Have you ever read anything that made you change a little something about your life? Listen, I removed Instagram from my phone. This is not. I haven't gone to live in a commune. I'm not changing my diet particularly. I haven't started exercising or stopped smoking. I don't smoke, but it had. I know those kind of things have happened as a result of people reading books. I'd love to hear if there was something that you read that you just, not necessarily it was the book that convinced you, but just made you think about something enough to take responsibility and make a change. I'd be interested, and highly recommend this to anyone interested in parenting and modern life and the evils of social media. The Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt. Thank you. God bless. Bye.